Holy cow, this makes the Flair 58 so much better. Oh, Buku, how I love you. The Flair 58 is amazing, and we all know that, but it can be absolutely infuriating to get back-to-back consistent results. But this is the BooKoo Espresso monitor and the BooKoo mini scale. Espresso is difficult, it's humbling, and that is even more true when you're using a manual lever machine. I think the thing that's missing from the Flair 58's workflow is data. I don't know about you, but I'm a very visual person, and I like to think that if I could see the results of my shots, that I'd be able to visualize them, understand where maybe I'm doing things right, doing things wrong, and from that visual aspect, I'll be able to get more repeatable results. In essence, I'd make better coffee, more repeatable, better coffee. Data analysis is what it is. You're able to analyze what you've done before, look at it again, and then try and replicate that so you get the same results. So if you're really into your espresso and you're a bit of a coffee nerd and you want to be able to fine tune it to the best of your ability, then this is for you. So how does this all work? Well, you've got this pressure sensor at the back, you've got your pressure gauge at the front, and this is going to read the data of your pressure and send it to your phone that you can read and analyze then through an app. And the same goes for the scale. It connects to the app and it's going to read the output data and visualize that through the app as well. And the data we're talking about here, it's not just pressure, it's also flow rate and time. And in this system, it'll actually do resistance as well. Wait, hang on a minute. I don't understand pressure and senses and scales and all this. I just want a cup of coffee. Okay. Go buy an espresso machine. In fairness, a year ago I made my first ever coffee video and posted it to YouTube, and that was on a DeLonghi Dedica. Before that I was using an espresso machine, but it's amazing what can happen in the space of just 1 year. I can't believe how quickly this channel has grown. In the space of that year I've got 12,000 subscribers, and that's thanks to all of you guys watching. So if you do want to follow along on this journey with me, hit the like and the subscribe and all that stuff down at the bottom, and that's going to really help me out. It's going to inspire me to continue making videos like this. Okay, back to BooKoo. The idea here is to understand the pressure profiles. A pressure profile is going to show us what pressure we were at any given time during that shot, which is what, 35 seconds. So you can see from the app here, on the bottom axis we have our time, on the left we've got flow rate, and on the right then we have pressure. But why is all of this important? If we imagine a typical espresso machine, it's going to run the shot at 9 bars at a constant pressure for that 35 seconds-ish, right? But if we think about what's actually happening to the coffee inside our puck while we're doing that, we're pushing water at a high pressure through the coffee grounds. Now those grounds saturate as the water passes through them. So to extract all of the goodness out of that coffee, ideally we want to control the pressure, ramping up and ramping down through the shot at different stages. The goal is to extract all the nuances of flavor from the coffee during the extraction. Now as we push the water through the coffee puck, the water is going to dissolve all the solubles, giving us our espresso shot. So realistically, pushing water through at a constant pressure doesn't give us enough control to extract the flavors that we do want and mitigate the ones that we don't. Now let's imagine a profiled shot. You're going to start with your pre-infusion at low pressure, and the goal here is to saturate the grounds and allow for a bloom. Blooming is basically the reaction of the water going through the grounds and creating a sort of bubbling of the carbon dioxide, allowing it to escape. And this is good for two reasons. Number one is that carbon dioxide typically has a sour taste. So if you don't allow for a bloom, you're going to end up with a more sour tasting espresso. And secondly, carbon dioxide repels water. So allowing for a bloom means that water can more easily extract the aromas and the flavor once all of that carbon dioxide is gone. Once you're done with your pre-infusion, you're going to want to ramp up the pressure so that the water can extract all of the solubles, the acids, the oils, the sugars, everything that makes up your espresso shot. And this all contributes to the body, the acidity, the sweetness, and the bitterness of your shot. And lastly then, you're going to have your pressure decline. So towards the end of the shot, you're going to let off the pressure, and this is typically where, if you kept it at a constant pressure, you'd end up with more bitterness in your shot. So pressure profiling, if done right, theoretically is going to give you a much more balanced and tastier shot. So let's pull a shot and see how it looks. Okay, let's weigh out our beans. Sneak peek at this. This is the subminimal subscale. Coming to the channel soon. So let's get 18 grams Okay, and let's try it. It's going to be a bit weird from this angle, but let's see what we get, just as a test. So we try and ramp up to maybe 2 or 3 bars for a bit. And then at about 10 seconds, and now let's ramp up right the way up to about 8 or 9 bars. And then we can slowly let off our pressure. So you can see as I'm doing this, you've got your flow rate, you've got your weight, you've got your pressure. So we're approaching 40 seconds, 45. We put in 18 grams, so aiming for about 35 out. And there we go. Okay, so that was our shot. A little bit long, but that's okay. We were just going to use this as an example. Let's take that out there. Let's give it a little taste. Definitely ran a little bit too long, but for all intents and purposes, that was okay. So let's look back at our app. The idea here is that we now have this graph that's going to show and display all of the different parameters that are read by the scales and by this sensor. Now, if I really enjoyed that shot, if that was the shot of my lifetime, I can actually go up and tap on this button in the corner with the little eye symbol. So that's going to pull up a ghost version of that shot that I maybe really liked. So the next time I'm pulling a shot, what I can do is try and aim for that same pressure curve. Amazing, right? Well, it gets better. So if I go back here into history, what we can actually do is we can have further information. So we can use this as a proper Espresso log. If we go down here, you can see that the extraction equipment was the Flair 58 Plus. We've got the grinding equipment, which is the Varia Evo. The basket was the VST 18 gram basket, what date it was, and if you want, you can put in more notes into the description. This is amazing. This is like having a proper log that you can go back over and analyze. You can actually put in bean name, brand of beans, degrees of roast, all of this information. And if I were you, I'd be going into description as well, and I'd be putting in grind level as well, along with which grinder has been used. How cool is that? I just think that's incredible. And maybe you think it's so cool that you want to share it with your friends. So up in the top corner here, we've got a little share icon. And if we click that, we can see we've got share Excel files, or we can generate this really cool poster image. So it generates, and then you've got this. And to me, that's really clever and might make for some really good art. Now, another thing that this app can do, which is pretty handy, is you can have presets. So you can actually go in here and let's say you're basing it on pressure, you can go in and edit and actually change around where you want the pressure curve to be. So that's a really nice way to be able to do things. And as well as that, if we go back here and we go again to history, and then here, we actually have a few example profiles from different machines as well. So you can try and follow those and replicate those pressure profiles. Amazing. Okay, so if you're still with me, that probably means you are a massive coffee nerd, and you're probably wondering how much all of this costs. So on the BooKoo website, this entire kit, the scales and the pressure gauge and the pressure sensor, are at $239 US. And that might sound expensive, but realistically, when the alternative is something like the decent espresso machine, which in fact actually costs more than 4 times as much as this entire setup, that's something to think about. And arguably, you're going to be getting as good, if not better, shots with the Flair 58. Just because it's such a manual process, there's something so satisfying about manual espresso. And I also just want to take a second to show you how beautifully they are made. If we get our cup out of the way here, the scales itself is absolutely tiny. It's fully made of metal, so it's got this sort of metal body around the outside, and then as you can see, the front of it is made of glass, so it shows you the inner workings of the scale as well. It's very responsive and everything works as it should. It feels solid. It's IPX4 water resistant, so cleaning it, or if you accidentally make a mess, it's not going to be an issue. And it's accurate to 0.1 of a gram. And in terms of the flow rate, it'll measure down to 0.1 of a gram per second as well. So it's as accurate as you would expect it to be. And the pressure gauge is stunning. Yes, I kind of do wish that this was a black face on the pressure gauge, and maybe I wish that it was also a mirror finish around the outside, just like the pressure sensor is, but that's just aesthetics. They are both USB-C rechargeable, so no need to swap out batteries or anything like that, and they charge up really quick as well. And the app is also free. And the amount of R&D that went into actually developing that app and making sure that the UI and the UX were as good as they are, it just staggers me. It is really, really easy to use. It's just wonderful. So is the $239 price tag worth it? Yes. Yes, it is. To me anyway, it absolutely is. Now, Buku did send me this kit for free in return for creating this video, but everything that I've said so far is completely my own opinion, and they don't get to see what I'm putting out in this video before you guys see it. So this is very much my own opinion, and nothing is going to sway that. And in fact, I'm going to be using this daily, all the time, because it really does help in maximizing getting the best espresso possible. Now, I've been speaking to this kit only for the Flair 58, but actually it will work with a lot of other machines as well. There are a number of machines that it'll work directly with, and then there is an adapter as well for any machines that the threads don't fit. Generally speaking, if your machine has a pressure gauge, it should work, or there's a way to make it work. This has by far been the nerdiest coffee video I've ever made, but I do hope you got something from it. And if you have, let me know in the comments. If you're thinking of getting something like this, or if you have this particular kit, let me know. I want to know what your thoughts are on it. How have you been getting on with your espresso shots? As always, I will see you in the next video.